I try to reassure myself that we're not really living in twisted, ugly, awful times. I try to tell myself things aren't as bad as they appear. We got an election right. The country's going in a better direction. We've got a lot of uncertainty ahead. We have a lot of work to do. But I try to tell myself that we're not hopelessly lost. There are people who believe that. And, I try to be optimistic, and I try to say, no, we're not hopelessly lost. There's hope for this country. And then along comes a story I saw yesterday that blew my mind. There's a proposed ballot initiative involving the healthcare industry. Okay, all right. California's California. California's going to do what they do. It would be the ballot initiative makes it harder, essentially, for the insurance companies to deny patients medical care. Okay, it's a worthwhile debate. Let's talk about that. What does that mean? What would the initiative do? Is it hard for people to get coverage? Fair enough. Let's have a debate about that, and they can have that debate in California. Here's the problem. Are you ready? Do you know what it's called? I'm not making this up, and I'm trying not to lose my mind when I read it to you. I got a little animated Friday when I talked about Chuck Schumer. That made me livid, where he essentially threatened Americans who don't vote the way he approves. The California ballot measure that would be a new health care law that would make it harder for insurance companies to deny coverage is called the Luigi Mangione Access to Health Care Act. I'm not kidding you. They're actually advancing a ballot initiative in the state of California named for the young man who is charged with brutally slaughtering a young husband and father whose crime, whose sin, whose fate was to be the CEO of United Healthcare. The Luigi Mangione Access to Health Care Act in California was put forward by attorney Paul Eisner. It would make it illegal for an insurance company to delay, deny, or modify any medical procedure. Now, delay, deny, that's important. You remember those terms. Because that, of course, was allegedly Luigi's mantra. He even had those words on the bullets that he used to slaughter Brian Thompson. Delay, deny was the subject of a book blasting the healthcare industry. So the ballot initiative not only glorifies this alleged assassin and monster and coward putting bullets in the back of a young man, stalking up behind him while the guy's walking to a conference, but it also glorifies the book that Luigi Mangione allegedly used as the basis for his cold-blooded killing. Now, I can't dismiss California. It's a prominent state. It's a big state. Millions of people, many of whom are listening and watching me right now. How sick have we become when something like this can happen? How sick a society are we when this kind of thing happens? And a lot of people who are upset about the Trump agenda use the old adage that evil prospers when good men do nothing. So my problem here is I haven't even seen a lot of coverage of this. I mean, I caught it on the New York Post website over the weekend. Did you know this was a reality? Did you know this was happening? How is this not one of the biggest news stories of the month, if not the year. The Luigi Mangione Access to Healthcare Act. Can you imagine what that little weasel is thinking behind bars? That vermin? That horrible, cowardly, destructive man who sent young children's father to his grave, all because he didn't like the healthcare industry? Hey, Luigi, got some news for you. In California, they just advanced a ballot initiative that they're going to debate, named for you, the Luigi Mangione Access to Healthcare Act. I agree with those who say evil prospers and flourishes when good men do nothing. And I wanted to bring this to your attention. You may or may not care. We'll find out. I'll throw open the phone number and we'll see if you respond. Final day of March. It's March 31st, 2025, Monday, here in the Relief Factor studios, and we're glad you're here. I'll ask you, is this not one of the most sickening, pathetic, evil news stories you've heard in a while? I'm telling you, there are days when I think we are in the end times, that up is down and good is bad and right is wrong and evil is portrayed as good and good is portrayed as evil. And this is a perfect example. The Luigi Mangione Access to Health Care Act. My Lord. Our number is 800-655-MIKE. We'll see if you've got a response to it or not. We've got a lot of breaking news, a lot of stories about Trump's poll numbers, a lot of stories about his efforts to clean up Social Security. And a big story about Wisconsin. And we got to be all about Wisconsin tomorrow. If you're in Wisconsin, you know how important that election is tomorrow. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more, but let's kick things off with your reaction to the latest insanity, evil, idiocy out of the state of California. 800-655-MIKE, 800-655-6453. Hope you join us. It's a little peculiar how I'm having such an angry, enraged reaction to this story out of California. I don't want to start off a Monday being in such a bad mood. There's a lot of great things to share with you. There's terrific news about what's happening in the country. There's great news out of Wisconsin. There's a lot of reason for optimism, but only if people show up. You got to show up. You got to vote. You got to go, Wisconsin, because it's all on the line. And it's going to be devastating if the Democrats win this election. What the Democrat Party is becoming before our very eyes is beyond despicable. Nebraska, with a text here on the MyPillow text line, these low-life leftist Democrats are sick, pathetic, and out of touch with reality. Indiana, the fact that they're naming a bill after that garbage person completely enrages me. And from Columbus, Ohio, Mike, naming a health care act after a cold-blooded murderer is beyond disgusting. However, it is a blatant, and I would add, very instructive example of what the left is becoming. I'm seeing these stories of all the violence being directed towards people who own a car, a brand of car. I'm seeing people get beat up, assaulted, shot and killed. Just ask the family of Brian Thompson. And I'm waiting for a lot of Democrats to condemn it. I'm waiting a long time. I think we're going to be waiting a long, long time. I mean, there is an underground, there is a darkness, there is an evil around us, and we got to stand up to it. We got to make sure, and what I do in my capacity as just a big mouth talk show host, is share these stories with you so that you are very mindful of what's happening in this beloved country of ours. And good people on the Democrat side of the aisle have got to say this is absolutely wrong. They need to condemn this stuff. Violence is never permissible. And responsible Democrats have to say it. Lori's in Oregon. Lori, welcome back. You're on the Mike Gallagher Show, 23 past the hour. What do you think, Lori? The Luigi Mangione Access to Healthcare Act in the state of California.
Well, I'm in Oregon, so I don't agree with it. I wish it would not.
Okay.
I guess I wouldn't agree with it.
You would what?
I would not agree with it.
You would not agree with naming a health care act after a man who's accused of committing a cold-blooded murder?
No, I would not agree with whatever they're doing, no.
Okay. Thank you, Lori. Nice to hear from you. Whew. Joe in Detroit. Hi, Joe.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I want to just start by saying, human life is cheap. That's the first thing. The next thing is, look at how many, are they almost to $1 million of people supporting Luigi and his
I think it's well over 1 million. I think people have done. I would love to meet somebody who could contribute to the Luigi Mangione Defense Fund. Wouldn't you like to know what they're all about?
Yeah.
What they do for a living? I mean, what kind of monster would do that?
And lastly, naming that health care bill after him is a big finger in the eye, and I'm not surprised California would do that. What an insult. He shot that man like a dog, walking away. I always say, why not say, hey, Mr. So-and-so, could I have a minute of your time? I'm upset over what's going on.
Of course.
No, he just executed the guy.
See,
he executed him.
Of course he did. And the problem, Joe, is that it's not an unworthy debate. I get it. Let's have the debate. I've had people call this show who seem somewhat sympathetic to Luigi because they've had such a terrible time getting health care coverage from some of the big insurance companies. Fine, have the debate. You don't put bullets in the guy's back because he's the CEO of one of the health care companies. You don't say, well, there we go. Now that's a start. You know what? This should shut down any effort to reform the healthcare industry. You know what? If I'm running a healthcare system, I'm putting bodyguards on all of my executives. I'm going to say, stick it in your ear. You're going to kill us because you don't like our policies and practices? Well, go take a hike. This shouldn't affect change. The problem is when there's a perception that murdering a healthcare executive might affect change. Who's next? Who's next? Who they're going to line up next to kill? Fast food executives? Well, fast food's going to kill you. You got to eat too many Whoppers. Let me go down and gun down. What about grocery store prices? They're too high. Well, let's go gun down the manager of the grocery store, and maybe they'll lower the grocery prices. Well, my gosh. Somebody texted me from Colorado and said, you probably won't put this on the air, but maybe next will be the Hannibal Lecter school lunch program. Oh, I can put it on the air. And at this point, nothing would surprise me. Nothing. This is where we are. 800-655-MIKE, 800-655-6453. Welcome in. Got a lot of great things. Let me balance the awful, evil, pathetic news with some good news coming up.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.